few years ago, and great to see all the progress even, before the programs. I've gone through some of the other programs we partner up with, like the Innovation Studio in Rhode Island as well. And, amazing to see how far you've come to today's event. So yeah, excited. I'm going to bring up your deck here, hand it over to you. And the format for everybody in the audience is Mike's going to give his full presentation. If you have a question along the way, you can submit it in the chat or in the Q&A tab, but we're going to hold questions to right after the presentation. I'll either moderate or bring people up from the hand raise video Q&A tab. And yeah, we can have an interactive Q&A right after Mike's done presenting. So yeah, happy to hand it over to you, and looking forward to you sharing Pernimed with the world today.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining in. My name is Mike Reyes. I'm the founder and CEO of Pernimed. Where are your health records right now? And you have access to them. It's a known fact that Gen Zers and millennials are traveling more than ever before, and many of us are moving more frequently as well. That was highlighted during the pandemic, where a lot of people wanted to move from places like New York City, San Francisco, to places like Florida and Texas. So when traveling or when going to a different doctor or dental office, the most frustrating thing I've had in my personal experience, at least, has been having to fill out a new form every single time. The worst is when you actually have to go to an emergency room, your stomach's in pain, chest pains, and on top of that, you have to fill out another form. There's definitely a better solution to that. QR codes are being used more and more now after the pandemic. I personally am a member of Planet Fitness, and I travel frequently for work. So every time I go to a different Planet Fitness, all I have to do is get my phone out, click on the icon of Planet Fitness, check in, scan it on their system. I'm allowed in. They can see everything uploaded in a few seconds. And an added caveat is when I'm in the gym in real time, I can actually scan the machines, the QR codes on every single machine. It'll in real time upload my reps and changes in endurance, strength, speed, agility in real time. So next time I go to the gym, everything will be updated and I can go from there. So the product that we're building has threefold authentication. First, your phone. Get on your PIN, right? Put in my PIN. Second, it'll use either biometric scanning of your face or fingerprint on your phone in order to give you access to your records and open up a PDF file scan that you can scan in the doctor's office or emergency room so that they can upload your records and they can see them. Once the hospital can see your records and they're uploaded into their system, they'll be able to alter the records as well. An example of this is my partner, Alexander Black. Her mother had surgery 6 months ago. And unfortunately, what happened was that at 5 p.m. after the surgery, they gave her a dose of medication, pain medication. And then there was this change in the shift. A new nurse came in and at 7 p.m. gave her a second dosage, same amount of that pain medication. What happened was that they had to monitor her vitals for us the evening and actually flood her system with IVs to make sure that all the extra medication could be flooded out of her system. In a system that we're creating, because of the fact that doctors can update things in real time, that would not happen. So timing to build this kind of database blockchain system that we're going to be doing is now. There are two facts in life. First, the sun will rise tomorrow. Secondly, blockchain will be the new wave of the future in all kinds of technologies. Examples of these are the CBDC, central bank digital currencies. China already has one that's fully functional. And in the United States, the Federal Reserve in New York State and California is developing pilot programs to see how they can function first at a regional local level and then expand to the rest of the country. NFTs and cryptocurrencies have brought the blockchain technology into the spotlight. Now, this has led to companies like, for example, Walmart saying, oh, we can use this blockchain technology to actually trace mad cow disease. For example, somebody eats a piece of steak, they get sick, they go back to the Walmart where they purchased the steak from, give them their credit card, they can find out in seconds where the cow came from, who the farm owner is, and the farm, and the actual cow number. It used to take them weeks and months to do this before they implemented blockchain technology. By the year 2024, blockchain technology will have reached its full maturity. Presently, there are countries in the world actually moving their whole infrastructure onto the blockchain. Estonia, from the moment you're born, your birth certificates, high school degrees, college degrees, land you purchase, healthcare records, and your death records as well, all on the blockchain. That includes even things like their version of the social security number as well. The reason why this is important is because now Rhode Island has noticed, they visited Estonia and they're implementing the same thing here. Last year, Rhode Island launched a pilot program to put CPA records on the blockchain. You got to start with something that's very plain and boring, right? That you can manage. Small amount of people have CPAs. This year, February 8th, they actually launched a second pilot program for business registrations. I have a company that's incorporated in Delaware, but I registered in Rhode Island as well. And I can tell you, it's a pain looking up all these documents every single time I have to show them to somebody. It'll be great to have them on a blockchain distributed ledger where I can access them at my leisure and when I need to. So I approached Brown University and I said I want to develop an MVP with them. The MVP would be a database system based on Filecoin for storage servers and Solana Ethereum, a hybrid where we can transfer records from point A to point B. We're going to be developing the MVP with them. Once we have a fully functioning MVP, we're going to proceed to launch a pilot program with the state of Rhode Island. I've already approached Secretary of Commerce of the state of Rhode Island, Elizabeth Tanner, on how we're going to be working together. Our business model to make money is twofold. First, we're going to be charging people to hold their records and have access to those records on their phone $1 a month. That's $12 a year. That's not a lot of money. They have to have some skin in the game in order to actually want to participate, right? So that's one way we make money. For example, 12 million people on the system, that's $12 million a month. The second layer is that we've already talked to anchor clients in the biotech and big pharma sphere that are willing to purchase data sets for hundreds of thousands of dollars per year on a subscription-based model. That means that the whole year, as these records are being adjusted, for example, I go to the hospital now, I feel ill, my blood hypertension medication is not working for whatever reason. I go to the doctor, I tell the doctor I need to change my prescription medication. He alters it in real time. And then the back end, the biotech and big pharma companies will actually be able to see in real time how the new medication has affected me. My blood pressure is going up, my blood pressure is going down, I had to have to change it over again, etc. So an added caveat for the patient, because it's a patient-centric model, is that they'll also be able to monetize those records, Pernimed functioning as a broker-dealer. So they can monetize it in the back end as well. We'll also be able to make money off of that as well. Our team. I'm the founder and CEO. My experience is in tech sales. I worked for Yelp and actually sold their advertising space in 3 languages, English, Spanish, and Mandarin. In the question section, we can talk more about why I speak Mandarin. I'm obviously not Chinese. Second, I also work in tech sales in working with sales teams for green energy companies in New York State and in the region of New England, and increasing sales month by month, month after month, by 100 to 150%. I also work in government relations. At the federal level, I work with the U.S. Blockchain Pact and helping them introduce a legislation through Congress people on both parties that are for our industry at the federal level. At the state level, I work with the state government of Rhode Island. I know senators, state reps, they're all supportive of what we do. And Secretary Tanner is very supportive and she's willing to work with us and excited about it because of my lobbying efforts. Second, Alexander Black is our chief financial officer. She's had billions under assets under management, which was a banker back in New York City 10 years ago. The past 7 years, she's been working with venture capitalist firms and hedge funds in the San Francisco area, helping them with investing in startup firms in the tech space. Experience is heavily depends on fundraising, basically talking to people that high net worth individuals and getting them to invest in these funds so that they can use the funds to invest in early stage startups in the tech space. Very, very, very familiar with what they're doing. And when I approached her about being on our team, she was very excited about the product. James Gannon is our chief technological officer, software developer by trade. His experience is in managing blockchain upgrades like for level 1, level 2, etc. Our asks today, we have 3 main asks. Our first ask is we need a pre-seed round of $250,000 to fully develop our MVP with Brown University. After that, we're going to need a seed round of between $5 to $10 million. That'll be used to acquire the data from the patients using the systems like CERN, integrate with them in the state of Rhode Island. And once we acquire the data, we actually have to be HIPAA compliant. So we have to hire people that have national security clearances to sift through that data, organize the data before we can send them out to patients. Our second ask is people. We are talking to Dr. Alex Kahana, who helped build the Estonia model for their healthcare database system. We'd love to have them on board, but we also need other practitioners in the space that have more experience with handling data records. Also, we're looking for more anchor clients. This means that we want to have people that actually work for these biotech and big pharma companies that buy the data for them. If we can hire them as salespeople, we can train them in our company culture and then send them to sell to their previous employers. We're looking for Chamber of Commerce-like organizations as well to work with to be our first adopters. I'm also the founder of Rhode Island New Technology and Rhode Island Blockchain Council. So we're going to have many people in Rhode Island that are going to be our first adapters. As we expand, first, we're just focusing on Rhode Island right now, but as we expand in the future, we're looking to have beta testers and first adapters in other states as well. The difference, what we're doing is not a novel idea. The difference is that we're a public benefit corporation. That means we have to balance profits and the public good. When I asked Delaware about this status, they said that I actually had to prove to them as to why we should deserve to have this status granted to us. I had to write several essays, and after a few weeks, they've actually said, okay, we're guaranteeing you this coveted public benefit corporation status. Secondly, we're working in a public-private partnership with different state governments. No other organization has actually done that. This will allow us to have better quality data and a better reputation before moving on to other states. Thank you for your time, and I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Great job, Mike. And yeah, appreciate it. There's already some good questions in the chat here. If you have any more, feel free to either ask in the Q&A or in the chat tab. Yeah, let's see. I'll start this one. You addressed a little bit towards the end of the presentation already, but if you just want to go over what individuals you'd like to speak with over the next 6 months, that will be helpful to you in your process.
We're in the process of speaking to a few pre-seed organizations, and what we're focusing on right now is building the best possible MVP that we can with Brown University. Like I said, we're in talks with them. And after we do that, we can actually move to work with Rhode Island. How it would work for me, like in a perfect world, would be this. We'd get initial funding. We'd talk to Brown, like, okay, here we go. Let's build this. As we're building the product out, it should take 2 or 3 months. We're talking to the people that work for these biotech and big pharma companies about coming to work for us, give them incentives, and talking to Dr. Alex Kahana. Okay, we need to build this database. As soon as the MVP is developed, we need to build this database, and we need to start acquiring patient data in a compliant manner. Let's integrate with CERN and the other platforms that the hospitals are currently using in the state of Rhode Island. So people that are also familiar with that in the space, we would love to have on our team.
Great. That's perfect. And then we had a question about users being able to monetize their data. And can you explain and expand on what that would look like?
So currently, thanks for the question. Currently, Facebook and Instagram, they harvest your data and they do not give you a kickback for it, right? They keep all the profits. The way it works in Massachusetts is that people do have access to the records, right? There's a user interface online that you can actually access, login. It's not quick and efficient. It's something you would use at 2 in the morning at an emergency room or anything, but it does exist. So the data currently right now in the state of Massachusetts, when they work with third parties to sell this data to biotech companies for studies and marketing and efficacy trials, the ownership belongs to the hospital. What we're doing is giving the ownership back to the actual patients. The way it would work is that let's say we sell 100 pieces of data. Most people are going to say they don't want to monetize their data for whatever reason. You're going to have like 10 people that say that do want to monetize their data. So the 10 people that do want to monetize their data, because we have a subscription-based model and we have people paying $1 per year, $1 per month, $12 per year, we're going to have enough funds to be able to give them quarterly profits. We're thinking in the range of $100 to $200 per quarter just to begin with the first couple of years. But again, we still have to launch our pilot program to work out the kinks and see how much we actually can give to people.
And that ties really well into the next question here about during that pilot program, how you're going through testing product market fit. What are some of the key performance indicators or metrics you're looking at around user acquisition?
So the reason why we chose Rhode Island, in addition to the fact that they are the most progressive with regards to moving their infrastructure onto the blockchain, is because it's the second most dense state in the country, and geographically it's the smallest, period, right? So they have the hospital system, which is one of the biggest in Southern New England, Rhode Island Hospital in Providence. So just in the Providence County alone, which is 4 or 5 cities, the biggest cities in the state, through the Department of Health, it's a public hospital, we feel confident that we can acquire between 20 to 30% of the population in year one. The population of the state of Rhode Island is 1.67 million around there, and 97% of the state is insured. And the biggest employer in the state of Rhode Island is the state government itself. So it's much more easier to access their health records. And again, regardless of if it's us or somebody else, there will be a third-party company coming into the state of Rhode Island to organize these records and put them on a database, because for the pilot programs that Rhode Island has already launched, they've hired third-party contractors to work with them. So no matter who's going to be doing this, they're going to have to establish a database where they can harvest the records and share the records with the Department of Health on the blockchain. So again, first couple of years, we want to get 20 to 30% of the records. As the cascade begins to happen and we expand to other states, we're going to have more people. We have relationships with the Texas Blockchain Council. We have relationships with Wyoming Blockchain Council, Bitcoin Miami Conference. We've approached them, and these are the states that we look towards investing in and expanding in the future.
Sounds great. Yeah, and then on the strategy, or basically the protection itself of the consumer data, how do you protect data and security of customer user data, HIPAA compliance and the sensitivity of health data?
Well, honestly, I'm actually very, very happy you answered that. So the way it works now in the industry with our current competitors is that they hire a department of individuals that have security clearances given to them by the U.S. federal government. And their job is to sift through the data once the company receives it and organize it and make sure it gets to the hospitals or the biotech companies. All we're going to do is, the difference between us and them is that instead of giving it to the hospitals, we're going to have our organization sift through it, the people with the security clearances, and then give it to the patients using the blockchain. The blockchain is a very secure method. Bitcoin has existed for about 13 years now. It's never been hacked. It takes that National Security Agency a whole 6 months to hack a block on the blockchain. Every single block, once you start hacking it, reprograms every 3 minutes. Basically, you can't speak in absolutes. It's never right. I just said. But generally speaking, it's almost impossible to hack a block on the blockchain. They're impenetrable. So we have 2 levels of safety. Safety 1, transferring and storing records will be on the blockchain. Safety 2, only people that have security clearances from the federal government and are authorized to do so will be looking at this data, sifting this data, matching it to individuals, and making sure that the data using the blockchain gets to these individuals.
Great response.
Thanks, Jason.
I actually have, there's 2 questions I'm going to combine here. So one of them is, who do you consider your number 1 competitor? And along the same lines, are there approaches that differ from other companies experimenting with blockchain solutions for patient medical data?
Personally, their biggest competitors, going to sound cliche, but everybody's trying to get into this space. You got the Amazons of the world, Googles, they're all trying to get into this space. The problem is that, again, nobody trusts them. I'll elaborate. Facebook. Okay, we have Bitcoin, we have Ethereum, right? Facebook. spent billions of money, billions of dollars, right, trying to develop the Libra. Who uses the Libra token? I mean, keep in mind that Microsoft invested in it, Amazon invested in it, LinkedIn invested in it. Everybody and their mother invested into Facebook to develop this because everybody was like, oh, Facebook is the biggest company in the world, one of the biggest companies in the world. Everybody's going to want to use the Libra. Nobody uses it. It's a trust factor. You can't trust these companies with your data. That's the biggest concern with our number one competitor, our top competitors in the space. And what was the second question, Jason? Sorry.
Yeah, they were both about, other competitors, in the blockchain sector for medical data.
Specifically in the blockchain sector. Okay, so the healthcare and blockchain records are very new. And again, the space is about 3 years old. The competitors exist with using blockchain specifically, but some of them have been able to acquire some data and get some traction, but none of them have been able to grow to major unicorn companies that give people access to the records. That's the main goal that we have, the difference from our competitors, that we want to give records back. We want to put the records back into the hands of the patients, give them full control and autonomy. Right now, all the other competitors just worry about making money. No matter what, we're worried about making sure that people can control the records, have access to the records, and can monetize the records themselves.
I like that. You talked about mistrust a little bit with some of the competitors. So how do you gain interest from consumers that mistrust blockchain overall and manage the knowledge gap there on people entering into the sector?
Like I said previously, blockchain, well, if it's a good system, let's be honest, we're not a blockchain company on the front end. When I go to Planet Fitness, I'm not interested in, I wonder what technology they use. I'm just interested that my technology is secured and that nobody can hack it, and I can use it anytime to make my life more convenient. With the consumer, the patient, we're focusing on, hey, your information is impenetrable. We're a public benefit corporation. We have to push that. That's becoming very, very big. It's a very new idea, very novel idea. But in the past few years, if you've seen TV, I know people are watching streaming services, more and more companies are coming up with this certified B Corporation label. Down the road, as we grow, people will understand that we're looking after their best interest, that the board of directors of our startup, soon to be fully functioning company, are going to be asking us, hey, are the patient's records secured? That's our number one priority. Secondary is making money. Other companies are priority number one is making money. Secondary is security. Us is security, patient convenience. Somebody's in an emergency room at 2 a.m. I want to make sure that they can have access to they can get into the hospital and not have to fill out any documentation. Those are my concerns. Again, we're going to build trust through, obviously we have to go to conferences. We have to talk to people on the street. What's his name? Airbnb. When they first began, one thing that they did was really great. They actually went to Airbnb, rented them out, talked to the owners of the different properties. We have to go out there and talk to people and ask them what will make them feel safer. I want to make sure that people understand that I'm here to help them. And their patients are the backbone of our business, so we have to make sure that they're happy. And if there's any security concerns, what are those concerns so I can address them?
Perfect. So we have about a minute and a half left. I just want to make sure.
Why so fast, Jason?
Yeah, I mean, you did a good job with the presentation, and we got a lot of questions in already. So on the boost tab, if you go to Pernimed booth at any point, you can hit enter and hit the request follow-up if you want to connect with Mike further. And then, I'll put one last question up here as well. Do you think individuals with security clearance is a scalable solution, or what's the vision to help automate this process?
I'm not going to answer this question in 1 minute. That's impossible. One thing I can say is this. Honestly, at first, we want to do that. We want to focus on what works, right? Later on, we want to move into AI. But there is a gap there between AI and what the government can trust, right? To a certain extent. And if there are bad actors that could influence AI. We actually have a talk at the Rhode Island New Technology Group next month on AI, artificial intelligence, and how artificial intelligence. One speaker, a TEDx speaker, I can't mention his name here. He believes that AI, we're basically going towards a Terminator-like situation, like in the next year. Doomsday, where the AI is self-aware and then starts killing us all. But for now, at least that's what we're looking for. We're looking more in towards an AI type solution in the future as well, that can sift it in the back end at faster rates than humans, and actually can attach data records in this missing space, right, to human beings in a faster, more efficient, and safer manner than any human being could.
Perfect.
To scale, of course.
Yeah. No, great job here. Appreciate all the great questions, and yeah, excited to see everybody. We're gonna shift over to our next session here. Thanks, Mike.
Always a pleasure, Jason.